Hello, my YouTube friends. Today we're going to talk about zone work in the FlyLady system. Zone work is originated with the sidetracked home executives, Pam and Peggy. They were sisters back in the late 70s, early 80s. And one of them had a husband who kept the yard immaculate. And the two sisters were extremely ADHD, in my opinion. They call themselves sidetracked. And they said, how do you keep this yard looking so gorgeous? Because that was his area. He said, well, I figured out one day that the sprinklers have zones. If you have a sprinkler system, you may be familiar with that there are zones for the yard. Zone 1 is this part, and Zone 2 is this part, and Zone 3 is this part, and Zone 4 is this part, and Zone 5 is this part. And he said, I decided that I would work in the yard in zones. So every week I focus on one of those zones and I get all the weeds out and I make sure the flowers look good and I make sure the trees are trimmed or whatever it is he had to do. And that's it's not a lot of work, it's just a little bit of work. Every week he had something to do because he followed the zones. And it gave them the bright idea, why don't we do that in our house? And so that's what zone work is. Your house is divided into 5 areas. No matter how big or how small, it's 5 areas. The first area, the first zone, is typically the entryways. That is entries and exits. So any entry into your home should have some sort of entryway, like a patio or a step or a deck or a porch, or it could be a screened-in porch. It could be a sunroom. It's probably not a sunroom because you can't go out of the sunroom. You might be able to. Anyway, it's the entry and the exit into your home. And that area is going to be what you're going to work on. So most people have a front door, a back door, maybe a garage door. Some people have just a front door. They live in a 1-bedroom walk-up apartment and they just have one end. They don't even have a patio. They have one. And maybe it just opens right into the house and there's just a general hall outside. So you're going to work on the door itself, the frame, the doorbell. You want it to look nice. So when people push it or knock on your door, it's not dirty. And you can work, and if there's clutter by the door, like a box of shoes that are flowing over, or hats and scarves hanging on something that have been there since last winter, or maybe you have a closet door, a closet right there, kind of a little hall closet that's in the entryway, that's where you put the people's coats when they come in, and it's called a coat closet in the old days. Maybe that needs to be decluttered. If you have a back porch, maybe you have a patio or a deck and it's got pots of old dead plants that have been there all summer that just dried up and you need to go, or they're looking really bad and they need to be cleaned out, or the thing needs to be swept, or you have sliding glass doors or French doors that need to be cleaned. Now don't jumble it up. You're going to be doing the decluttering first, and then when there's no more clutter, then you do the deep cleaning. So you would spend 15 minutes at a time, 4 times a week. Or if you're not an at-home homemaker, if you're a payroll homemaker, then you find 1 hour where you can do those 4 15-minute units together and get it done. I suggest if you have a classic job schedule, work schedule, that you do it Saturday morning. But if you don't have a classic schedule, and I know many of you don't, then you find the day that is your typical Saturday and you do that in the morning. That's your zone work. You also do your weekly home blessing then, but we're talking about zones today. So zone 1 is entryways. The entryway into the garage can be a whole headache for people, but just worry about right around the door. If there's skateboards that people are tripping over, or shoes, or a mop, or whatever, straighten that out. Declutter that area inside and out. Okay, good. And then once you start deep cleaning, for those of you who have a foyer, that's when you're going to mop the foyer. If it's a moppable surface, or vacuum it, when you're deep cleaning zone 1, okay? Zone 2 is the kitchen. Enough said. Everything that is kitchen related is the kitchen. Zone 3 is other rooms, and we're going to go back to that. Zone 4 is your main bedroom, master bedroom or main bedroom. And if it has an ensuite bathroom, the bathroom, and of course the closet. Or some of you have wardrobes and you don't have closets. My friends in the UK, a lot of you have wardrobes, and that's fine. Where your clothes go, where your clothes hang. Okay, so those are the things you're going to declutter until they are all decluttered. And once they're decluttered, then when you work on that zone, you can do deep cleaning. Zone 5, the final zone, is the main living areas. So where your family hangs out the most. If you have a family room and that's where they hang out, fine. Maybe you've got a large family and they hang out in the family room and the upstairs loft and the main living room. Then that's what's going to be zone 5 for you. Some of you might want to include the dining room in zone 5. Some of you might want to include the dining room in zone 1, the entryway, because it's right by the entryway, and the entryways generally aren't as bad as the rest of the house. Okay, now we're going to go back to zone 3, the other rooms. That would be children's rooms, guest rooms, craft rooms, offices, laundry rooms, garages, attics, basements. Those are all other rooms. I'm sure you have your own, and you don't have all of those. Most of you don't. So those are the other rooms, and that's a little overwhelming for people who might have a guest room and an office and a child's room and a mud room or a laundry room and a sunroom and a playroom, okay? And that's very typical, and a basement. So where do you start? You start with the one that's the most cluttered. That's my suggestion. And you work for your 15 minutes 4 times a week or 1 hour on Saturday in that area until it's completely decluttered. Now, that's the zones. Now, I'm going to give you some tips. Number 1, I highly, highly stress that you do something called clutter stops. That's what I call them. And what that is when you declutter an area, you have to claim it for yourself. It's like planting a flag on the moon. This is ours. This is my country, right? So let's say you worked in the entryway and there's an entryway table and it's always got keys and dog leashes and dog treats and brushes and shoes underneath it, and it's just a mess. And you hate it. And every day you walk in and you go, I've got to take care of that. And there's papers on it. Let's say you get it all decluttered and you have a pretty bowl in the middle, and that's where you said the keys are going to go. And you tell everyone the keys go in the bowl. Please don't put anything else on here. And you've got a candle, maybe a pretty picture standing on a little stand on the table, and it looks so nice, and you've got a mirror over it. Every day you have to go back and look at that space. And you don't have to decorate it the way I said. I'm just saying you make it pretty. If it's just a flower in a vase, or if it's just a little placemat, and it doesn't matter what you put on there. It just has to be something that indicates to you this is done. And when you go back to that place, and this is just an example, this is for every part of your house, your side table, your dresser, the coffee table, all flat surfaces almost, any place that you're decluttering and you're doing clutter stops, then you go back and you do a clutter stop. And that means you go and look at it and say, uh-oh, I know I didn't put this dog's leash here, did I? No, I didn't. And I've told everybody it goes on the hook here. I'm going to hang it on the hook, and I'm going to remind them when you walk the dog, please hang it on the hook, because they have a habit. They're not thinking. They're just doing what they've always done. So remind them, hey, the dog's leash was laying on the table. I know you didn't. I know you probably don't realize you did it, but I hung it back on the hook. Please remember to put it on the hook. And then if it keeps being there, then you make that person go do it. Hey, please go put that on the hook for me. Because when they actually do it, they're going to, especially children, they're going to remember it. You may have an obstinate spouse, and if he just won't do it, then you do it. It's okay. It's not worth the trouble. Just hang it up. But clutter stop is that. It's where you see something and you say, stop. I'm not going to let this get cluttered again. Because one little thing, one little hairbrush, one little water bottle, and the whole family is going to start depositing things there. Before you know it, it's going to be a big cluttered mess again. So a clutter stop happens if you're an at-home homemaker 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or breakfast, lunch, and before bed. And payroll homemaker, it's going to be breakfast and dinner and before bed. And it's a quick perusal, looking around to see what's out of its place, not what hasn't been decluttered yet, but what has been decluttered and now has stuff on it that's out of its place. And even if you haven't decluttered, you can still see things that are out of their place. A glass that was left there today, or a cup, or a plate, or a napkin, or a Kleenex, or whatever. Those things have to be put away. So I encourage you to have your family begin putting the things where they go. Dishes in the dishwasher, trash in the garbage can, shoes in the bedroom or in the box by the door, whatever you choose. Everything has a home that you're telling them to put it there. If it doesn't have a home yet, it hasn't been decluttered yet, so there's no place to put it. That's why your house is cluttered. Okay? All right, so start working in your zones and doing 3 clutter stops a day, and you're going to see a huge difference. I encourage you to do the daily rituals, which are the morning routine, laundry, paper routine if you have paper, after dinner routine, before bed routines. Those are going to help. And also do your basic weekly plan, something you do every day. What do you do on Monday? What do you do on Tuesday? I do errands on Monday. I make my list on Tuesday. I buy, whatever, car and purse. I clean that once a week, whatever. There are things you can do. And if you don't know what those are, there are videos here that you can watch. But I also encourage you to come over to patreon.com. There's a link below to my Patreon. It's $5 a month currently. It will be going up in January, in November, sorry. But right now it's $5 a month. And if you get in, you'll be grandfathered in at $5 a month. And you'll get 5 videos a week, one on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, every week, all year long. Christmas, Thanksgiving, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get one. Okay? And it's going to give you what you need to do that day. And if you're a payroll homemaker, it will address what you need to do that day and on the weekend. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you always remember to be beautiful because you are beautiful.